Good Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is the one and the only Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. Charles, today is Monday, isn't it?
That's all
That's all what I had to do to make sure I didn't ask you how it was going.
It is a Monday.
That's all I could possibly do. So we're starting late today. That's my fault. Actually, it's Davidson County's fault. I got selected for jury duty, and
unfortunately, if you don't show up, threat of jail.
Yeah, so I had to go in there, and
how about that?
I did my civic duty. I went up to. So last time I got selected for jury duty, I went up to the window to tell the guy I was here, so I didn't get arrested, and I was like, "Hey, can I go?" And he was like, "Yeah, you can go. That's cool." That was it. That was all I did. I just asked if I could leave. And this morning, I went in there and I was like, "Hey, can I be excused?" And he was like, "Why?" And I was like, I just really don't think anyone's going to select me for a jury. He's like, "Come back in a little bit." So I went and sat down. I went back up there at 8:45 when he told me to. And he was like, "What's your reason?" I was like, "Well, I have a libertarian, political podcast. We talk about a lot of government stuff and laws, and I give my opinions on all sorts of stuff." And he was like, "Well, this is how I got screwed here." He goes, "Well, Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire was just here 2 weeks ago." So he's like, "So I think you're going to be fine."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Dang it, you got to be kidding me."
That's why I said you should have said, "Well, I have a podcast called Jury Nullification." And you probably don't want me here.
Yeah, that's I should have done that. And but after I was in there for a little bit, if you've never done this before, this is how it works. And
part of you was probably like, "I kind of want to be on the jury now."
I started to want to be on the jury.
Yeah.
That's what happened, and especially because in the random order they call people's names, and I was one of the first 14, which meant when I walked in, I got to sit in the jury box.
You were in the prestigious jury chair.
Mm-hmm, very important. And so then there were the 50 other losers out there who weren't going to get picked for nothing, and so they were sitting out there, and I had to sit there and answer questions, and so that was interesting to sit there and answer some questions. And he asked what I was doing, what I did for a living. And so I'm co-host of a political podcast, because by that time I was like, kind of want to do this, Mm-hmm. And that was really it. He didn't ask much more about
I've already been here 3 hours. Yeah. What's another 2 weeks?
Spot in at that time. The judge said it was going to be over by Wednesday. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
We all know how government predictions go.
So yeah. So anyhow, I didn't get selected. I got knocked out in the first round, unfortunately. So here I am now, not at the courthouse. I got paid $20, I think. No, I think you have to get selected to get paid $20. Now that I think about it. No, a day.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you maybe have to get selected to get paid $20. I did pay $21 to park to be there.
Surely you could have gotten that validated or something.
Yeah, they did validate, but I parked in the wrong place.
Oh.
So the government took 4 hours and $21 from me today. And so anyhow, here we are, and we're going to talk about
jury nullification.
Not jury nullification, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with jury nullification, there's no law stating that you have to vote that someone is guilty, even if they've proven that they committed that crime beyond a reasonable doubt.
You could vote to say that the law is immoral.
For instance, if the law had to do with weapons possession, something like that, and say you're in the District of Columbia and someone's getting brought in the court because they had a gun that the government had not given them permission to have, even if they prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that guy had that gun and did not have a license for it, there's no law stating that you have to vote that he is guilty. You can nullify an immoral law if you want to. And this law is not one that I was going to nullify. So I was not going to jury nullify today. And so I did not come out with, I do a podcast and we talk about jury nullification sometimes. Because if you know the nature of the case, I was not going to boast about how I might nullify this law. So if you're in the, and to know about the case, you would have had to been in the Fed Haters Club, joingmail.com. We've been hanging out now for 38 minutes waiting for Charlie to get done talking on the phone. And so now we have a little bit of time to go through some of the news. So let's do that. The big news that we're going to talk about today is that the U.S. government, I tell you what, Charlie, you voted for Trump.
For the first time.
I voted for Trump for the first time. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of great options. And I was happy that Trump won. I'm overall, it's getting harder and harder. I'm just going to say, and all the Trump people listening right now, don't freak out. Don't freak out, okay? Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. It's getting harder and harder to say that, like, I'm glad that he won, because I've always been glad that he won, because how much bigger would the government have gotten if a Democrat would have won? How much more power would the government have used over the economy if a Democrat had won the election? And if we're still saying, like, well, this is way better, well, that must mean that it would have gotten really bad, because the first story we have here might not seem like a big deal, but it's I'm not a fan of it. The United States of America, this is from Howard Lutnick, you've heard of him before probably. The United States of America now owns 10% of Intel. One of our, not like an Intel agency, they own 100% of those. They're talking about Intel, you know, the one that makes the chips. You open up your crappy computer you just got, says Intel inside, that kind of thing. This historic agreement strengthens U.S. leadership in semiconductors, which will both grow our economy and help secure America's technological edge. Thanks to Intel CEO Lip Bhutan for striking a deal that's fair to Intel and fair to the American people.
This is gross.
Yeah, it's really gross. We mentioned this just a little bit last week and didn't get to talk about it very much, but people finally started fighting about it online over the weekend. So here's a story from CNBC. U.S. government takes 10% stake in Intel as Trump expands control over private sector. From CNBC. Let's see, that's the announcement I just told you. Intel is the only American company capable of making advanced chips on U.S. soil. Now, that's going to be important, because a big part of the argument for this is that this is a national security interest.
What happened to, like, NVIDIA and stuff?
Well, NVIDIA, here's the deal. NVIDIA doesn't make anything, and neither does AMD. NVIDIA and AMD design chips.
But aren't they building giant factories in America?
I'm not sure about what NVIDIA and AMD are doing.
I could be wrong about that. I just thought that there was recently announced a pretty big investment.
There could be. Let's get some details on that.
Okay.
If you want to look into that. Yeah, I don't want to say anything wrong, but to my knowledge, NVIDIA and AMD use like TSMC to make their chips. So Taiwan is making at least the bulk of their chips. Maybe they have a little bit. I'm not really sure. And so they're making the argument here that it is in our national security interest.
Yeah. NVIDIA is building giant manufacturing facilities in the U.S. The company announced plans in April 2025 to produce its AI supercomputers in the U.S. for the first time. This is part of a larger plan to invest up to $500 billion in American-made AI infrastructure over the next 4 years. So in Texas and Arizona.
Oh, that could be good. Could be good. Yeah.
So one is with partner Foxconn.
Okay.
Not Foxtrot, Foxconn. And they've already begun fabrication plants in Phoenix for the Blackwell AI chips, which is NVIDIA's new chips.
Okay. So we're going to get some of those made in the U.S., sounds like. As of right now, according to the government, Charlie, this is an extreme national security interest of our nation.
Intel's the only one that can make them.
Intel, yeah. And according to CNBC, Intel, the only American company capable of making advanced chips on U.S. soil. So the government made an $8.9 billion investment in Intel common stock, purchasing 433.3 million shares at a price of $20, 47 cents per share. Giving
so now the government is buying stock?
So
What?
I know this is...
What is happening?
What actually happened here is we had the CHIPS Act, okay? And that was passed under Biden. It was like a $50 billion bill, something like that. And there was money allocated for a lot of these chips companies, one of them being Intel. And to this day, so far...
You think Pringles is going to see any of that?
Potentially. They could, if they get in right with the administration. But we'll see. They got to make it here in the USA.
Okay.
All right. So far to this day, 2.2 billion of the money that had been allocated to Intel has actually been sent out to them and spent by them. The rest of it still hadn't been spent. All right. But it was, appropriated at least in this bill. And so they've taken that and they're going to use that to convert it into Intel shares. And that's how we're going to end up with a 10% stake. Let me see. Of the total, $5.7 billion of the government funds will come from grants under the CHIPS Act that have been awarded but not paid. And $3.2 billion will come from separate government awards under a program to make secure chips. And so that's from a defense program, actually, because this is a national security interest right here.
Like chips to direct rockets and
stuff
missiles.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's important that we have those. And here's the argument people will make. Well, China, as we all know, they're going to invade Taiwan, and then they're going to shut off our ability to get any of these semiconductors. We're going to lose all of this. All of these important chips. You remember during COVID, we had a chip shortage, and that was what happened. Like you're waiting for vehicles, waiting for all these products, and we didn't have the chips for them. And so we all saw during COVID that when the government shuts down commerce, it gets really difficult for everyone. And so we have to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Let me get into a little bit more of the details here for you. Yeah, so just so you know, that adds up to 8.9 billion. So where is it that I'm getting the 11 billion? Is because they had already spent 2.2 of the billion. So when you see a post here by Trump, let me read you a couple of Trump's posts. This one happened last week. He said, "It is my great honor to report that the United States of America now fully owns and controls 10% of Intel, a great American company that has an even more incredible future. I negotiated this deal with Lip-Bu-Tan." That's a great name. I actually like it myself.
Sounds American.
"The highly respected chief executive officer of the company. The United States paid nothing for these shares, and the shares are now valued at approximately $11 billion. I'm just gonna point out right now, and I'm gonna point out again because he said this again, that the United States obviously paid money for these shares." What he means, I think, is that this was a bill that was passed while Biden was in office, and that money is already considered spent or allocated or appropriated or whatever the proper term is for it.
And we were just going to give them that money.
Yeah.
But now, for that money, we get a stake in the company.
Exactly.
Which is how, free market capitalism works.
Well, you steal money from a bunch of people, and then you use it to give to a preferred company for whatever reason the company might be preferred.
And you get enough ownership share that you have a couple votes.
They don't have votes. So we're going to get into that. They have no votes.
Oh.
They've got no control over the company whatsoever, Charlie.
Of course.
This is not socialism. This is not fascism. This is not communism.
No, of course
They got no votes, no board seats, nothing in exchange for this at all. This is just what's best for you, the tax-paying American. Now, listen, if you want to make the, that argument, that simple argument right there, well, they were going to just give them all of this money, and then Intel was going to spend it on stuff. Maybe they spend it wisely. Maybe they don't. I don't know. What am I going to do about it? I'm just a guy who might go to prison if I don't give them the money, And so now instead, and then they were going to profit wildly off of the money that was extorted from us and given to them. It was actually extorted from our grandchildren, but whatever. And now, at least, Charlie, at least we, the American people,
You're going to get some kind of return.
Get ownership, and we are going to make a return. We could pay off the debt.
If Intel does what NVIDIA does, maybe, I guess so.
No, I didn't know this, but Intel already basically was operating like a government company. They've lost $22 billion since the beginning of 2023. So it might as well be a government company to begin with. Doesn't that sound exactly like a place the government would put your money right there? Yeah. Like, oh, they've lost $22 billion since the beginning of 2023. I'm just going to take your money and put it in there.
Perfect.
You know? That should solve the problem for sure. Okay, let's see what else we got. He posted out again this morning. I love the wording here because it made it possible to craft a post around it. He said, "I paid $0 for Intel. It is worth approximately $11 billion. All goes to the USA. Why are stupid people unhappy with that? Like us stupid. I will make deals like that for our country all day long. I will also help those companies that make such lucrative deals with the United States. I love seeing their stock price go up, making the USA richer and richer, more jobs for America. Who would not want to make deals like that?"
Oh my God. Why did their stock price go up? I don't know. You just bought 400 million shares
I was
with
looking at
Fugazi money?
their chart's pretty terrible, but let's take a second and look at it here for
once
fun.
it was announced, I'm sure it went up some.
So I don't know if they actually came in and bought new shares or if they actually just diluted and offered. I haven't looked into that, if they came in and purchased. This currently is a monthly chart. Let's look at weekly. It's gone up a bit since this announcement was made. These are weekly numbers right here.
Still trading in the same box.
Yeah,
though.
I put that box around a little bit ago. I've been waiting for them to move out of this box, and they're still stuck in there. Let's see. The high for Intel was back around the .com bubble. Okay, that's cool. They're around $75 a share, and 2020 they made it back up to $70 a share, and right now they're trading around $24.59 per share at the moment. I was looking at the chart because I was trying to decide, like, am I going to buy into this fascism? And I haven't decided that it was.
Should I personally profit off of what I'm going to share?
He's saying that we're going to profit, but you know what would actually happen if they made money off of it? I mean, imagine they made an $11 billion investment with your money, and let's say their stock goes up 200%. Okay, they could go up 200%. That's fine. So they could clear $22 billion off of that. That's like 27 hours worth of funding for the government right there. You know, something like that.
Well, at our current
close.
rate, it's only 24 hours.
Yeah, by that time, it'd probably be more like 15 hours of funding for the government, something like that. But you know what they would actually do? They would just find something new to spend that money on.
Well, but
if that actually happens.
They don't actually have the money.
No.
Because like to spend that money, you would have to sell the
They
stock.
would sell the stock, yeah.
And then the stock price would go down from selling that much stock, and you wouldn't,
Yeah, that makes them the largest owner of Intel, by the way. The next largest is BlackRock, I'm pretty sure. And then State Street and Vanguard are in there.
Now, I do have a question, though.
Yeah.
Would you be opposed to the Social Security if they're going to force money like Social Security? Would you be opposed to them investing everyone's Social Security into the market to make it more viable?
I would want them to just go into indexes, not specific companies.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying in the market.
Yeah, I would.
See,
I would rather them do that.
I wouldn't. I think you should just give the money back to the people.
Well, yeah, okay. I didn't know that was an option in this scenario.
Well,
of course.
Okay. What I'm saying, let's say you don't have the option to not steal the money. You're going to steal the money.
Okay.
You're saying it's better if it was invested broadly.
Yeah, we got the numbers on that for sure.
Okay.
And what was funny is the numbers when we say, here's how much you would have made if it would have just been put into the S&P 500 the whole time. That's on the normal amount of money that goes into the S&P. Imagine if all those trillions of dollars were also getting pumped into the S&P at the same time. You know, that'd probably be even more money when that's going in. So yeah, I would rather them, but not specific companies, because the problem is, can use that to control companies. get them to do whatever you want. Now they say they don't have they don't have voting rights. They don't have a board seat. They got nothing like that for the company.
But this, I mean, this already kind of happens though. Okay. Where do you think, and it happens at a state level, okay? Because where do you think like your state pensions, where are those invested?
The stock market.
The stock market.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who do you think these hedge funds and companies are going after when they're looking for large investments? We've all seen the show, Billions and everything else. You know, your fire departments, pension, and your governor, you know, the state employees, especially like somewhere like Illinois, multiple billions of dollars. They're going to invest with someone to try to, you know, produce the return they promise to their constituents, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, that provides an element of control.
It does.
It's like, okay, well, do you want the state pension fund invested and managed, you know, by your firm?
Yeah.
Or do you want us to invest, you know, in the S&P that's going to involve, you know, these types of companies? Like, it gives you some influence.
That's
maybe
where,
not control, but influence.
That's where, at that point, I would hope that it was going into mutual funds, indexes, things like that, where it was many different companies, like the S&P 500 has 500 companies in it. And so it would be much more difficult to use that investment to control each one of those 500 companies and get them to do whatever it is you want them to do if you were just putting that money into indexes. When it comes to putting your money into a specific company or taking ownership of a specific company, that's much more direct control. And I know they don't have any control, but here's what they could do. You guys are doing something I don't like. We're just going to sell the shares, all of them, tomorrow. Going to sell them. They'll do whatever the F you want because that would absolutely tank their stock.
And technically, they have a fiduciary responsibility.
They do.
To not tank the stock.
They have a fiduciary responsibility to do what the government is telling them to do. The largest owner of their company. Yes.
That is insane.
They do.
What world are we living in right now?
I think it...
I know deals. Got all the deals. America's going to own the world.
Though it was really funny. There was Howard Lutnick posted out this thing. It says it's him hanging out with the Intel CEO, and it says the art of the deal. Intel. I'm like, here's the deal. You guys paid money for shares in their company. There's the deal. Yeah. They do that deal with anyone. I could go buy some shares of their company right now.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do that. That's not exactly a crazy deal.
Also, Howard Lutnick in there. I mean, is he inviting the CEO to the island? Or was the CEO already, has he already been to the island?
I'm not sure.
And they're like, basically like, Intel, if you do this deal, we'll make sure that you're not listed in the list that's about to come out.
Could be.
The Epstein list.
That list. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That one. I'm going to play a clip here, something that we don't always do. And I'm going to play a clip here from Breaking Points because I heard them talking about this morning. And this Crystal and Sagar and Crystal Ball ends up making a point that everyone should pay attention to. Most of all her, but she's not going to pay attention to it because that's not something she does. But they are talking about this deal. Now, Sagar is very much in favor of this, and Crystal is not. I actually love listening to Sagar. If you guys ever want to listen to Breaking Points, I can only listen to the shows where he's on the show because he's actually very rational and logical about things. And so I can actually handle listening to him, even though I disagree with him on a lot of stuff. I hopefully have this queued up at the right spot where Crystal is about to come in. Let me see.
Hey, Crystal, we got to put out Senator Bernie Sanders, the GOAT, as always, sticking to his principle. Let's put it up here on the screen. Here's what he had to say. If microchip companies make a profit from the generous grants they receive from the federal government, the taxpayers of America have a right to a reasonable return on that investment. And so not only do I endorse that, but I actually would say that if anything, we should have more of control with Intel here. Yes, I know, crony capitalism, whatever. All right, let me, again, spell it out for you. There is no critical national security interests, which should not be under the control of the government. It would actually be irresponsible to do so, because if you don't, then you're going to end up like America today, which is basically a hollowed out husk of people who design shit and then let the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Koreans, the Japanese actually build all of it for us. God help us if we're ever actually in a bad situation. That's my overall take.
Bernie's principle, 100% agree with. Unfortunately, I just know that Trump is going to use this to do some like stupid, corrupt,
gold chip. Well, the first gold chip ever manufactured.
Not only that, like I think it's also important for people to really sit with these chips are incredibly important.
Yes.
They genuinely are, which is part of the case for why we should have a direct interest. And yes, I think Bernie's principle is totally true, that if we are giving these companies all these subsidies, and Bernie, I think, actually opposed the Chips and Science Act or had some issues with it because of all the, the taxpayer subsidies. So I think it's reasonable to say, yes, the American people should benefit from the profits. However, because this is such a critical industry, we're talking about for defense, we're talking about for aerospace, we're talking about for EVs, for like the industries of the future, renewable energy, so critical. You could just see the way Trump would use this sway to, punish his political opponents, to reward his cronies, all of those sorts of things. And so that's why it's like, well, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of like with the tariffs, right?
All right, so I have to make...
I love how she's like, I love this idea if someone like Bernie Sanders did it.
That's
but because Trump did it, this is awful.
That's exactly the point. And like everyone listening right now, even if you're a Trump supporter, can understand how stupid of a point you just made, which is that I am 100% on board with Bernie's principle. And Bernie's principle is what Trump just did. He literally made this argument and we made fun of him for it. And by the way, if you're listening, so did you. Okay. And don't lie and say that you didn't. All right. Because I know you're trying to lie and say that you didn't. But when Bernie made this point a couple of years ago, you're like, socialist, communist, F you, Bernie.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't lie and say that you were totally fine with it when Bernie was talking about it. The point that she just made, that she loves Bernie's principle, but Trump is going to use this to do terrible things, is exactly right. Okay? And everyone who is in support of Trump doing this should also think about the flip side of that argument, because you are currently making the same argument she is.
What if Bernie was doing this? You'd all be against it.
Everyone who wants Trump to do it would be against it if it were Bernie, if it were Kamala, if it were Joe Biden. If this would have been in the Chips and Science Act, we would have never heard the end of it. Joe Biden signed it. It was not part of it. Okay. But if it would have been in it, that would have been used in campaigns, all kinds of stuff. We would have seen commercials about it. People would have talked about it every single day. But since it's Trump, they're totally fine. But guess what? Trump is, I don't know how old. It's old. It's really old. Okay. He's not going to be here for forever. He's in fact in the second term. Someone is going to be the president, not named Donald Trump, in 2029. Okay. I don't know who that person's going to be. You think it might be JD Vance? I think it might be Gavin Newsom. Are you cool with that? Are you cool with, if you don't institute absolute 100% DEI policies in this framework and all, by the way, you got to make sure that you're building your factories and my best friend's towns and
everyone needs a COVID shot.
Yeah, whatever else. If you don't make sure that everyone there is absolutely mandated to get transgender surgeries, then then we're going to sell all of our stock. It's all going to be gone and we're going to destroy your company. You'd be against that happening, which means if you're going to be a principled person, you'd have to be against it happening right now too, because that absolutely could happen. Maybe not as ridiculous, but probably ridiculous in a different way that we're not thinking about right now.
I don't think we ever saw this coming. So when you talk about ridiculous things, like,
again, like, I get it. I don't think that Trump is doing this because he has this dream of the United States government taking over and owning all of the corporations or anything. I think he's making these deals like he is the business person, okay? I think he is making what he believes are smart deals for America, given the current circumstances and the world that he's living in, and giving no thought whatsoever to the actual future really at all. I think he just wants to leave a really good legacy.
But this is why they say all roads lead to fascism.
Yeah, this is absolutely fascism too, by the way. I keep seeing people say socialism and communism. No, this is literally fascism. Okay, literally is a strong word. It's very close.
Government control of private
Yes.
private business.
Charlie, they don't have control. Read the fine print. There's no control
Yeah.
of the company.
Of course not.
Come on. Let me see.
We're only just investing taxpayer money. That's it.
I did want to point out, some people have been upset that Gavin Newsom is doing all this Trump trolling. I think it's hilarious, honestly. This is from the Governor Newsom press office. It's if you're watching the video, you can see it's Trump with a hammer and sickle flag behind him. It says, "All hail Chairman Trump with his glorious 10% purchase of Intel. The Socialist Republic of America enters a bold new era of government-run business." And you know what? It's true.
It's pretty funny, actually.
And let's instead of talking about our annoying libertarianness principles right now, let's talk about the real world. What do you think happens, Charlie, when Intel continues to do poorly compared to their competition, and their stock starts going down, and they continue to lose money, and the government is looking at their investment and their 10% ownership, and looks like Intel needs some more cash from somewhere. American people got a bad deal on this. My guess would be they'll be way more likely to just keep feeding Intel more money to keep the stock afloat, to make it look good.
They've already gone this far.
They've gone this far. And they want to protect their investment like it's their company. And they've got your money to protect their investment with. Don't worry, they've got plenty of your money to protect their investment with. I think that's highly likely. I think in the same way that we saw the 2008 financial crisis bailouts of like GM, where actually I think the government ended up with something like 60% ownership of GM, and actually had a controlling stake, and they could actually and I bet you a lot of people were upset with Obama for that. Probably, I don't know. Did
they have to sell it?
They ended up filing bankruptcy and starting a new company. They literally called New GM, and government came out with 60% ownership. The government did eventually sell their ownership stake at a loss. They lost money on the deal, if you can imagine such a world.
What a great investment.
And I don't like this road that we're going down. I hate that it's Trump who's doing it. I hate that I voted for the person who's doing this. I wouldn't like it if a Democrat were doing it. I don't like it that a Republican is doing it. And what I was going to say earlier was, it's not so much that it's Trump that's doing this and I'm super mad about it, because we've said plenty of times, it's not like he has a ton of principles when it comes to economics or governance or anything like that. He's a CEO who's trying to make good deals, I get real frustrated with the Republicans on this. The people who voted. Because now think, what are you going to do when a Democrat brings this up as an idea? It was a terrible idea when Bernie Sanders did it, literally in relation to Intel just a few years ago. And that was a crazy commie idea. And now all of you people are going to be on record supporting the idea that the government should give companies money in exchange for an ownership stake. And you might say, well, I'm not making the argument that the government should give these companies money. Well, yeah, you are, because now they can get an ownership stake. You're absolutely making the argument that the government should keep giving all these companies as much money as possible, because now people on both sides are totally fine with taking an ownership stake in these companies.
What if the government starts taking ownership stakes in, I don't know, companies like HCA? Companies like CHS, and then they eventually own enough of these hospital companies, they just usher in the Medicare for all.
Could happen.
Because they now own all the hospitals.
Might as well. Yeah.
And then they just have a one-payer system.
Well, it's national security, Charlie. We couldn't even be a functioning country if we didn't have the shored-up hospital-owning corporations like HCA and CHS. Just wouldn't be possible to even have a government, a civil society. It's for national security.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the group are, I think, I don't think you quite understand. I don't think there's quite an understanding from the group of like the building blocks that lead to the destruction of society. Okay, we know throughout history how this plays out, and sure, China may be doing it. They may have been doing it for a long time or whatever, and their economy is growing or whatever. But it's a growing and built on sticks. Like, it's going to fail. We know it will fail.
It's growing, but it may be. Like what?
On paper.
We don't even trust our government numbers. You trust China's?
Right.
You're telling me like, oh yeah, look at China. They've done all this stuff. So China's numbers are great.
And the thing about it is like when you build these power structures, okay, and this is kind of what we're talking about here, we don't know who's going to be in charge next. And eventually you get the dictators like Maduro that get elected, by the way. And now the power structures are in place for them to use them to their advantage, and then you have a real dictatorship for a long time. And podcasts like this wouldn't exist, and you won't be talking to your friends about any of freedom stuff because then you'll be killed.
What I don't like
that's how that happens. This is how it. We've been down this. We've been going down this path for a long time, but this is a pretty big accelerator. I'd say the fire is spreading.
I think I see more and more that a lot of people have this idea that the way we get to this tyranny that people on the right talk about sometimes, or libertarians talk about, is that someone passes a law that says the Tyranny Act of the United States, and then all of a sudden we've got tyranny. Yeah. I think it's much more likely it happens 10% at a time.
And that is a great point, T-Dub. You think Newsom might like the government owning oil companies?
Sure. I bet he would.
These oil companies, they make so many profits.
Mm-hmm.
And the government is the one spending all this money on research. And shouldn't we get a return on that?
Yeah, you know what?
And then we'll turn out just like Venezuela. In fact, we might be the ones jumping on rafts to go to Cuba because they're freer now than the United States.
They're like, oh, shouldn't the American people take part in the government? You're saying the government should take part in the profits from these companies, and it's called a corporate income tax. They already do it. They already tax. They already own whatever percentage effective tax rate all these companies end up paying. And so, yeah, they already are taking money back from those companies. Right. And now they're going to take ownership also, get the dividends too. And
then what are we going to do with the profits? Does that go into social welfare?
They're going to use it to expand government.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is these were the promises made in Venezuela and things like that. Yeah, it started with the oil companies. They nationalized oil. They nationalized all kinds of stuff. And then what happened? I don't think Venezuela is a place most people are trying to immigrate to. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people died of starvation, which the United States eradicated, 200 years ago.
How much is okay for them to own? Apparently for people on the right now, it's 10%. I guess that's fine. 10% is enough. 12?
That's in the Bible, 10%. Stick with that. If we don't go above 10%, I guess that's fine.
I guess 10 is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so let's say it's 10.
So let's pass a law where the government can't own more than 10% of a company.
Some of those companies that they're going to come in and own, they fail, which, by the way, this is not the only one they're going to do this with. They're going to do this with multiple companies.
Yeah, this is just
They've already said so, literally. It's not fear-mongering. That literally are going to do this with more companies. And so they come in and do it more, and some of them fail. And you know what, Charlie? We could have been better stewards of the taxpayer money that was used to invest in those companies if we just would have had voting rights. If we just would have had a board seat. Mm-hmm. See, the problem was the American people made this investment and we didn't have any say-so over the matter. And so it's actually better for freedom if the government can also retain a seat on the board at the same time. And so then you got a government representative taking a seat on the board to make sure that they are taking care of BlackRock gets a seat on the board, or however many seats they have on the board, or however many voting shares they have. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. They get to vote. And so why wouldn't the government also get to vote on the decisions that the corporation makes? After all, they're the largest owner of the company, which is insane that we're having to defend the idea, even to some people in our group, that it's bad for the government to own companies. But that's what Trump will do for you.
Some people, Trump can do no wrong.
Well, maybe he can do something wrong here. Let's go to this.
That's just the way it is.
Let's go to a new executive order that Trump signed today before we get out of here. If there's accidentally any Trump supporters listening still on the airwaves through your podcast app, let's talk about this. How about this? Breaking, President Trump just signed an executive order directing the DOJ to pursue 1 year in prison for those who burn American flags in the street. And we'll listen to his... It's not quite that, by the way. It's actually not... It's bad. It's not as bad as actually people have made it sound, because they're not trying to literally criminalize burning the flag, because they can't. But they're essentially trying to criminalize burning the flag. So, we'll listen to this.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. You can... But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy.
This guy knows a thing or two about inciting.
There's some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry.
I have to... Just before we listen anymore, so right now, it's not the people there that were going to riot or anything. And it's not that they were mad about something like, hey, we lived through the BLM riots and all that other stuff. It was terrible, stupid stuff. A lot of people should have gotten arrested and all that. The people were fine until an American flag was burned. And then everyone just went crazy.
And then death.
They just went nuts afterwards.
Death. Yep.
So it's actually, if you think about it,
This is for your safety.
it's the burning of the American flag that incites violent riots.
This is what led to Jan 6. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement is...
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important.
Makes you want to burn a flag.
Yeah. We're going to have to get some. I was looking at ordering some, and you can get, they're on sale at Walmart right now, actually. They're top seller American flag. And it's $14, the top seller, I think, because of the size. It was good. Sold by a Australian-based company, I think, that manufactures them in China, and then we get them here. It's only $14, and so it's a pretty. I'm so mad right now. I don't really know how to explain it.
Why did we need to buy a flag? We got a few of them here.
Once again, I find myself, we do have two. in here, actually.
We don't need two.
No, you could at least burn one. Yeah, that'd be fine. And so, yeah, we might
It's
have to
because
burn
the principle,
some flags.
Magoo, of the government not telling me what the fuck I can do and not do with a fucking flag.
Yeah.
That's why.
So
shove it up your ass, Trump. This is ridiculous.
Any other thing you could maybe burn it. You could say different stuff if you want to do that, but they find this one thing, this one representative of freedom, apparently, to do whatever the government says you can do, the freedom to do that. And to take the symbol, I'm actually upset because it's a complete perversion of what the symbol of the American flag is supposed to be. And they're doing it in a gaslighting way of protecting the American flag and the symbol that it represents. And they are gaslighting the hell out of you by threatening to put you in jail for a year for burning that symbol, but they have perverted the symbol. And
I
that
remember when we first started, we had a logo of an upside down flag. And that used to cause some controversy, and people would be like, "Whoa, why is the flag upside down? You're disrespecting the flag." Until you realize the meaning of an upside down flag.
Yeah.
And then some people got it, some people didn't.
It actually was part of our logo for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Or
And
more.
we didn't go away from it just because of like we were getting too much flack. It's just we kind of just evolved how our logo went.
Look for different aesthetics.
Right. But yeah, and then burning the American flag it's saying something.
It's a time-honored tradition.
And my biggest thing is like, you know, it's like I'm not going to allow someone to tell me what I can and cannot say, either with my tongue or my actions,
Or your lighter.
as long as I don't hurt someone else in the process. Like that goes against like every fiber of my being.
Like if you remove the flag, like you remove what you're saying is we're going to create this new thing, which they can't fully create it because the Supreme Court's already ruled on it. They could try and get the court to rule on it again. I don't think they would win. They're going to create a new thing where you take an action. There's no victims. And like no one gets hurt in the process unless someone gets burned, and then you could have charges for that, something like that. And they're going to put you in jail for a year for doing it. And almost any category of that I can think of, we would disagree with. Any of those things, like no victim, no crime. And this is especially one of them. And once again, I'm gonna reiterate my point. The entire meaning behind what America is supposed to be is completely destroyed by the idea that if I buy a $14 piece of nylon on Walmart's website and they ship it here from China, and then I set it on fire out there on the sidewalk, that they're going to find a way to put me in prison for a year? Why would you defend that?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that you like the guy who's saying it. Why would you defend it?
They're not going to be able to. I mean, I think what's going to happen is because the language he's using is like when people are protesting or riots or whatever, I think they're going to find a way to make sure they maximize your prison sentence through whatever crime you actually committed, because they can't get away with actually putting someone in jail for a year for just burning a flag.
In that way, I'm actually confused by the announcement, which you can tell Trump is describing it in one way, and then I didn't look. Maybe that was Stephen Miller that came in and was talking. He's like, we're going to go out and we're going to look at instances of flag burning and try to find crimes that were committed. And so then I'm like, okay, so they're not criminalizing flag burning. They're just going to use flag burning as a filter for things that happened, and then they're going to look for other crimes. But then Trump comes back and he says, it's going to be 1 year in jail for burning the flag. And I'm like, that's not what that guy just said. That guy just said you're going to look for other crimes that those people committed. Those crimes already have prison sentences or fines or whatever associated with them. And so if you're going to create a new criminal statute of burning an American flag add-on here, well, that sounds like the Supreme Court has already ruled on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do here.
Looks like we're burning a flag tomorrow on the show.
Yeah, we can do that.
So
We'll choose one of the two. They're in the box. They're folded properly. We'll unfold it. We'll turn it upside down, and we'll set it on fire.
Yep.
And probably what we'll do, that's probably going to violate an environmental rule that some people in the group would be in favor of us going to prison for a year for violating, because now they're in favor of us going to prison for violating those environmental rules.
We'll just tag the FBI.
Yeah, should
When
do
we
that.
post it on X. And yeah, come arrest me. I'll set fire to it. That way Nate doesn't have to worry about going to jail.
So those are the main two topics we brought in today. Very
It would be like
disappointing.
if the government tried to come and take my guns away from me.
Yeah,
I'm going to go down swinging.
just not going to do it.
It's not going to happen.
And this one, you're going to go down burning.
Yeah.
Would it be crazy if you actually did like get in trouble for that though? It's pretty wild, right?
It would be wild.
I have a feeling they're going to be flooded with videos of people burning flags in protest. And honestly, that's what deserves to happen right now, is for everyone to burn flags in protest. That's the whole, I'm telling you what, that you all might as, anyone who supports this, I guess you support saying Pledge of Allegiance too, at the same time. Oh, I don't know. I don't say the Pledge of Allegiance either. That's ridiculous. Commie gobbledygook. That's what that is. So I ain't going to do it.
I pledge allegiance to Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar, who sponsors this show, or I wish they did. You know, love
It kind
that
of looks
money.
like they do. I've been looking at,
Yeah,
I'm like,
just-
man, they need to pay for this. I got my Publix water turned around backwards over here
Yeah.
behind this Liberty sign that I'm
Might
also
need
going to
put some
burn.
tape on it.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to the land of 90% free, 10% government owned. All right, y'all. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, I think some of you did, and most of you probably didn't, but I surely did. I thought it was great. Sorry, I got a little heated there for a second. I think I said 2 F words
See, I'm not heated.
back to back, which is pretty rare, but it happens every now and then. And I don't know. I'm human. I could do whatever I want. Honestly. That's what I have
Trump
to say
doesn't
about
like
that.
it.
But anyway, I hope you do share it around and leave us a rating and review. And typically after shows where people really disagree with us, we start to get some few negative reviews. Nobody ever leaves reviews until
Yeah.
they're upset.
Yeah.
And they're like, this show sucks. 1 star. If I could give it less, I would. So anyway, go do that, Karen, if you want to. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support the show. And if you want to get in on the conversation, then you can go to joingml.com to be part of the Fed Haters Club. Fed meaning people who, I don't know, try to write laws saying you can't do something that you should absolutely be free to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you might be a Fed hater. So joingml.com or godhatesfeds.com. Pick up some merchandise, and there's a button to join the group from there as well.
And if you burn one of our shirts, we're going to put you in prison for a year. So
Yeah.
just kidding. That would be retarded.
Anyway, do all those things or don't. I don't really care, but Nate absolutely does. And if you do, then we'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day and a good